Hi, I'm Emily Coltman. I'm FreeAgent's Chief Accountant.
And I am Hannah Campbell, Director at TaxAssist Accountants.
And we are here today to answer the most commonly asked questions about self-assessment.
I thought you guys were going to give me questions I knew the answers to. I didn't think an easy one like this to stump me. Okay, let's have a look. What is the strangest excuse for filing self-assessment, please? We had a client who recently thought she was going to be late getting the information to us by the date we'd asked for it. So my team tried to diplomatically inquire whether there was anything leading up to that date that was also a reason for her not getting the stuff to us. And she said, well, no, but I go on holiday. So some people, their priorities are not their tax return list.
No. Right enough. I had to file my parents' tax returns late one year because my dad had a heart attack while he was visiting friends in Las Vegas, and no, he was not visiting a strip club at the time. But his tax return went in late and we did get fined, and we were able to successfully appeal it because it had been a medical emergency.
Okay, when is self-assessment due?
That's an easy one.
That's a nice, easy one. It is the 31st of January following the end of the tax year, assuming you are filing your tax return online.
Absolutely that. If you're filing on paper, it's the 31st of October, so you get less time to do it.
Okay, this one looks interesting.
It does.
What is a self-assessment tax return?
Well, that's actually quite a straightforward question, isn't it? Because the self-assessment tax return is the document on which you report all of your income and any allowable expenses and tax reliefs to HMRC.
Okay, what are your self-assessment bugbears?
Ooh.
Where do we start?
Indeed.
Receiving the information close to the deadline is a stress for any accountant out there.
Exactly.
We chase our clients every month from April onwards, and we're still waiting on well over 100 people.
And another one I would say is when clients don't tell you if they've got a new source of income or if something's changed in their family setup, which is going to mean higher income child benefit charge kicks in or something like that. If accountants don't know, then how can they get your tax return right?
Okay. Is self-assessment the same as a tax return?
I would say that an individual's tax return is one form of self-assessment because companies have to self-assess too, don't they?
Oh, that's a good answer. I was going to say yes, it's the whole word is self-assessment tax return is the whole phrase.
Which is also true.
You are spot on. Companies file corporation tax returns. There are other forms of tax returns needed for other types of entities. So every self-assessment is a tax return, but not every tax return
is self-assessment. That's a good way of putting it. What common mistakes are made when filing self-assessment?
That is a good question. What would you say are the most common ones you've come across?
People missing out income because they think, well, HMRC already know about the income from my job, I don't need to tell them again. Missing out expenses and paying too much tax, including expenses they shouldn't do. For instance, thinking that something like a suit of clothes that they wear for work is a business expense. 9 times out of 10, no, it isn't, you can't claim it.
Yeah, and I would say on the flip side, there's equally people filing their own tax returns who don't know about all of the expenses they could be claiming. So they're actually paying too much tax because they don't understand what expenses they can offset.
Absolutely that, yes. Missing off what could save you some tax.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What are your top self-assessment tips?
Oh, what are your self-assessment tips?
If you're not sure about something, then try and find out. Don't just take a guess. We've got a lot of really helpful guides on the FreeAgent website that could help you identify whether you do or don't need to report some income or can or can't claim some expenses.
Yeah, and also don't forget you can also ask your accountant.
Of course you can.
They should be willing and able to help you with any questions over what you can and can't claim. It is scary the amount of people who actually sign their tax return and don't understand it. It is your responsibility to make sure it's right. Do not sign it if you don't understand it.
Why is self-assessment so Difficult.
Do you think it's difficult?
Well, I'm an accountant, so I kind of know my way around it. But equally, I know there is still an awful lot that I don't know. If somebody came to me, for example, who was a minister of religion and wanted me to do their tax return, then I would be straight on the website trying to find out more information. I would be contacting an accountant who perhaps has done a tax return for a minister of religion to try and make sure I got it right. The UK's tax law is 4 times as long as the complete works of Shakespeare.
Oh, wow.
So it's no wonder that nobody, not even the revenue, knows their way around it in full. So yes, I think if you don't know something, then try and find someone who does.
The other thing is the name self-assessment is a little bit misleading because they call it self-assessment, but they don't make it easy for you to actually complete your tax return yourself.
No. Oh, this one's got 2.
Oh.
What expenses can I claim for self-assessment?
Oh, that's a good one.
It certainly is.
It's almost a nice, easy one to answer. So we'll start with the general rule, which is the easy part to explain. So you can claim tax relief on any expenses which you have incurred wholly and exclusively for business purposes, as long as there's not a dual benefit. So there's no personal benefit or personal element of what you've spent money on.
That is indeed the general rule, but your definition of wholly and exclusively for the business and the taxman's might be completely different.
It's a really interesting subject because I think there are so many new industries out there. I mean, things like content creators didn't exist when HMRC wrote this legislation. So what is incurred wholly and exclusively for certain businesses is actually changing quite a lot.
Exactly that.
I think it's important that if you're going to get help, you're checking relevant and recent resources.
Okay, what tools can help with self-assessment? We could certainly answer that one. What are your favourites, Hannah?
For our sole trader businesses, and especially people who are just starting up a business, the combination of a metal business bank account, which they can get completely free of charge, and then FreeAgent software, which will also be free of charge, to me is an absolute no-brainer for anyone now looking to start up.
Brilliant.
It's a little bit tougher maybe if you're already using software, you might not want to change. I do appreciate that. But anyone just starting out, that should be your go-to. That should be what you get set up on.
So that was the answers to some of the most asked questions about self-assessment. We hope you've enjoyed watching this. We hope you've learned something from what Hannah and I have been saying.
I've had a great time, guys. Thanks so much for having me.
That's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming to join us. Head on over to freeagent.com for more information about all things self-assessment and how FreeAgent and your accountant can help you. But in the meantime, thanks very much for watching and bye for now.
Thank you.